Hey guys, welcome to another video here on the AviationPro channel. In this video I'd like to give you some first impressions of the new released QualityWings Boeing 787. Now this has to be one of the most anticipated products in Prepared for quite a while right now. Release dates were postponed for a long time, and this product really has had quite an interesting history. First released for FSX and now finally for Prepared version 4. In this video I'd like to give you a little bit of first impressions of this aircraft. It's only been released yesterday, so I only have limited experience with the aircraft itself. But I'm just gonna take you through it, so I'll show you some shots from the outside and the inside. We're gonna take a look at some of the systems, and also through making a flight from Amsterdam to Frankfurt, discover the aircraft along the way. So let's take a look on the outside of the aircraft. Now the QualityWings 787 is available at flight1.com for $70, and it comes with the Boeing 787-8 and the 787-9. They will likely also include the 787-10 in the future. And as you can see from the outside, it looks absolutely amazing. I think the QualityWings team did a great job and put a lot of effort in creating a very realistic exterior model. Just the general looks amazing, and the lighting and the shapes of the engines is just beautiful. I mean, that's the characteristic shape of the Boeing 787 engines of the General Electric and Rolls-Royce types that you can see there. And that just looks amazing. And also the animations, for example, take a look at the gear animation. That is just amazing. I think they put a lot of detail in all the moving parts that are included in moving the gear up and down. And as you can see, also the gear kind of tilts as you put the gear down and up. So really very nice animations there. So if you're the type of person that likes to view the aircraft from the exterior and enjoy its beauty, then you will definitely enjoy this product. Personally, I always like to stay in the cockpit and just try to fly the flight as well as possible, but a lot of effort in this exterior model provides for some great looks outside. Now there are several liveries available by default on the QualityWings website, so make sure you check that out. You can just install them after you've installed the product. And both during night and day the aircraft looks very nice in general. Now let's take a look inside, and this is the cockpit of the Boeing 787. If you're a Boeing guy and you're used to aircraft like the 737, the 747 and even the 777, it is quite a different aircraft. There's a lot of new systems, and the QualityWings team did a good job at portraying all those systems. As you can see, all the displays look quite a bit different. The FMC is now replaced by a display with the keypad and numpad on the side. You will still recognize the general Boeing features, but in general the cockpit is a lot different, and will definitely give you enough time to learn more about. And that's what's so great about this aircraft. I think it's a very new generation aircraft with lots of new features to explore, and I think you will enjoy to do that in this beautiful model cockpit. As you can see, the textures and the 3D modeling is very well done. And also, for example, the HUD, you can have two HUDs on the captain and the first officer side. It's all working and functional, so that's very nice indeed. So I'm now parked here at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, preparing for a little flight to Frankfurt, and let's explore some of the unique features that you will find on this aircraft. First of all, on the left you will be able to see the electronic flight bag right here. It contains some functions where you can, for example, dispatch some cargo and fuel in the sim itself, so you can just load the fuel in the tanks that you want, and then you can set that fuel amount to your liking and as you need for the flight. The same with the payload, you can do the same. You can just load the different parts of the airplane with cargo and other payloads. Now the EFB does contain some other functions. For example, here you can do the performance calculations for the takeoff, which is very nice. Definitely handy if you want to have proper V-speeds depending on the different variables. And right here you can also insert your route that you're going to be flying, and based on that you'll also be able to view charts, and that's very nice as well. For main airports, charts are included. As you can see, you can just view sit here departing from Amsterdam, and you can select the display to display in night mode or day mode, and you know that's pretty nice, pretty convenient to have that EFB right there with you to view charts on the go. Now if we take a closer look at the display, as you can see, that's quite different. Right here we have where normally the navigation display would be, and you can switch them around if you want, but you can view the different types of systems, for example. And if I click one of these buttons, you can just skip through the systems just like you would do on the 777, but now everything is basically, you know, goes via the screen, via the you know, where the cursor would normally be used in real life. You would just use your own mouse in order to navigate through the display. In this menu you will be able to set a couple of settings here in for the aircraft. For example, you can choose which callouts you will hear, and you can also disable or enable pilot callouts, co-pilot callouts, and sounds that you will hear in the back. The display brightness can be adjusted here in this menu as well. So a couple of options, not a lot, in order to set up the airplane to your liking. Now the normal display switches that are found over here do not actually work. You can set some of the panel lights, like a little bit of floodlights, but they're only, you know, they're not dynamic or adjustable. So that's a bit of a pity. So you have to use that menu function in order to change the display brightness. Now as for the FMC and the flight management system, on the product page you will read that it's a comprehensive FMS system. Now I'm not sure what they exactly mean, if it's really accurately modeled, or you know, if the basics are there. Well, I haven't had time to discover everything, but you will just recognize it as normal Boeing FMC, but then the layout is completely different. So you will be typing on the left, and then using your cursor you will be putting in the data in the FMC as a display. So it's a bit weird, it's a little bit getting used to, but it's what the real aircraft is like. Now personally I think the classic FMC looks better, but yeah, it works, you know, and if you're familiar with Boeing airplanes, programming the FMC shouldn't be no problem. And I did not encounter any problem myself programming the FMC for this flight from Amsterdam to Frankfurt. So as you discover the aircraft and go through the setup, you will discover things, you know, you need to take the time to discover all those things. For example, the trim setting. You might wonder, okay, I have some kind of trim value here on the takeoff page, but where's the trim indicator? Well, it's actually on the display off to the right. So it's sometimes, you know, those kind of things where you would recognize them from old Boeing airplanes suddenly are on a different location, or, you know, are just portrayed in a different way, and that's kind of fun to discover. Now as far as the systems go, as you can see here, we have the overhead panel. It should be pretty recognizable for any Boeing pilot. You have some nice switch sounds. They're not that extensive. They are, you know, they sound realistic, but they're not really like you would find on PMDG airplanes, that you would find variances between each and every switch. But okay, you know, it's fine. And the systems are, to my understanding and to my, you know, limited experience that I have with this airplane, are, you know, basically well modeled. I'm not sure if they're modeled like with PMDG quality that a lot of people expect, but honestly I don't think you can expect that kind of quality for an airplane that's half the price of a PMDG airplane. But the basics are there, and it will definitely work. So I'm sure you will enjoy your time with this aircraft. Another neat little feature of this aircraft, and that's also modeled, is that you have airport maps, and this is really very nice to see in this add-on, and very realistic. Now it's only on the newer Boeing airplanes that they have this, so if you zoom in enough on the navigation display you will be able to view the airport map. And not all airports are included, just a set of major airports are included. So don't expect to see an airport map of every airport you fly to. There are also ways to edit those maps yourself, so you can include others. But that's just a very nice feature. So as we start the pushback, let's just try to start an engine. It should be a pretty similar procedure as a normal 777, for example, engine startup. And let's listen to some of the sounds, because the cockpit sounds are pretty nice as well. Another feature that I really like is the implementation of Trueglass by TFDI. So now you finally have rain effects on the airplane windows, and that's just very nice. As you can see, it's just started raining here a little bit, and you can see the raindrops traveling across the windscreen, and depending on your speed and the travel flight, the raindrops react in a different way, and it looks very nice and pretty realistic, and I'm very glad that they've implemented this feature. So far for the performance, it doesn't seem to be having much of an impact, so it's definitely a nice feature to see finally in Prepared. Now, as you taxi around for the first time with this airplane, you will notice that it's quite different in taxiing. It really wants to start flying, because even on idle power it will just go forward, especially when the airplane is light for a flight like this to Frankfurt. So I think you have to be a bit careful and you have to use the brakes a lot, let's put it that way. Now, one thing I noticed, and as you can see this already happens in this footage, is that whenever I'm in low performance situations, that is like a heavy scenery here at Amsterdam with Orbex Netherlands, and also while recording with my recording software, the display seemed to flicker, and you can see the black thing going over the screen every now and then, and yeah, I'm not sure what that is. It does not seem to happen in high performance conditions, so where just enough frame rates, but as soon as the frame rates drop, the display starts to flicker, and I'm not sure what this is about. Now, in general, the performance, I have to be honest, it's quite a heavy aircraft add-on. I'm not sure why it is. I mean, I'm sure there could be some more optimization done, but on average, PMDG airplane in this scenery in this location, I get about 25 frames per second, but not going to drop below 20. But with this aircraft, the frames are easily dropping below 20 and hitting 15. And with the screen displays that are flickering, I'm not sure if this add-on is really that frame rate friendly. So do keep that in mind. Now again, it depends on the system. I'm also recording here. As soon as I stop recording, the flicker is reduced, but it's still there every now and then, and I hope they will fix that. So we're about to approach runway 36 center to take off for our little flight to Frankfurt. Forgive me for not setting up everything correctly here and there. It's just to test the aircraft, see how it can follow the LNAV and VNAV profile, and yeah, let's just enjoy some of the sounds of the takeoff.
Thrust set. B1.
Now, hand-flying this airplane is an absolute joy. I really love hand-flying this airplane. I think the team did a great job in modeling the flying characteristics. Actually, sometimes it felt like I was flying an X-plane, because the way the airplane behaves in turbulence and wind conditions is quite unique, and not something that I've seen that often, to be honest. So that's very nice. Of course, this is definitely a fly-by-wire aircraft, so it's always different flying from a Boeing 737, for example, but the handling characteristics are very, very nice. I'm definitely know that you will enjoy hand flying this airplane. Now, the automation works fine as well. It just works like any Boeing airplane, basically. The aircraft follows the LNAV and VNAV profile well. Regarding the flight management system, I did notice a couple of hiccups here and there. A lot of people ask about PMDG comparability. How does it compare to a PMDG study level aircraft? And if you fly this aircraft for the first time, you just know that it's not does not have the quality of a PMDG airplane. Let's just be honest. When you fly a PMDG airplane for the first time, for example, the first time I flew the 737, the 777, and the first time I flew the 747 on its initial release, you know it's a good quality aircraft. You can just kind of feel it. But with this aircraft, you do notice little hiccups here and there. So I already talked about the display brightness, for example. Then the screen flickering is a little bit of an issue as well. At some point during this flight, the VNAV system decided to level off at a random flight level. I'm not sure, it could also just be because of my lack of knowledge of this aircraft still. But what I also noticed, for example, the weather radar does not seem to be displaying weather beyond 40 nautical miles. And I'm not sure why that is happening, because in the documentation it says it can display up to 320 nautical miles. So I've tested this in heavy thunderstorm conditions in an area with a lot of thunderstorms. So the line of the weather radar was basically just cutting off, and I'm not sure why that's happening. But again, this is a different team, a different developer, an airplane for half the price, but for its price I think it's definitely great fun and an aircraft to learn more about. And of course, time will learn. Over time they'll probably release more updates to fix things here and there. Some things definitely have to be fixed just from these first impressions. But in general, I'm quite happy with my purchase and love to explore this aircraft more. Another quite interesting feature that comes with the simulation part of this add-on is that you can jump ahead to any waypoint on your flight plan. So this is kind of handy if you want to quickly practice an approach and you don't want to have all that cruise time. You can just quickly jump to another waypoint. For example, I'm now jumping towards one of the final approach points for the ILS to runway 07 left at Frankfurt. And when you're there, you can just unpause the sim and it will be leveled off at the correct altitude. And it's kind of a handy feature if you quickly want to practice approaches if you don't want to make the entire flight. Now, a few other hiccups that I noticed is that the flap handle does not really respond properly to my axis that I set in FSU IPC with the different detents. I'm hoping that they will fix that. And another issue is there's really no option to set key commands, and this is a shame because I think key commands are quite handy, very vital, especially if you just have a joystick or a little bit more advanced setup like the SciTech yoke with the SciTech throttle quadrants, or maybe even more expensive hardware. You need to be able to set buttons. For example, here on Final Approach, you just want to disconnect the autopilot and disconnect the auto throttle without having to fiddle around with the mouse in the virtual cockpit like this. Where you have to disconnect the autopilot manually and then disconnect the auto throttle manually as well. And you kind of just want to have your hands on the controls while you're doing that, just like the way the airplane was designed. You just feel what the airplane is doing while you switch off the automation. So yeah, at least one of those buttons would be very handy, but in general there are no options to set buttons, which is kind of a shame. And of course there are options to do it if you do it via macro buttons in FSU IPC. I'm sure you can find your way to create your own buttons. I think it would have been nice to actually have that come with the product. So that's definitely a negative of this add-on. I would really want to see some sort of way to set key commands, at least for the vital parts of the automation, for example. Well, for now, as you can see, we are on approach to runway 07 left at Frankfurt. Let's just enjoy the landing for a little bit. Hand flying. I just totally disabled the automation at this stage to do a raw data ILS approach. And as you can see a little bit how it behaves in the wind. And you will be able to hear some of the nice cockpit sounds, because this cockpit in reality is very quiet, so actually you won't hear that much.
Approaching minimums. Minimums. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
So I hope you enjoyed that landing. Just before we go, I just wanted to show you a little bit of the options that come with the product. I already showed you that via the navigation display in the menu we can adjust some options. Also by opening this panel you can adjust some of the outside things like external power, opening doors, opening cargo doors, turning on the cabin lights also with different colors, which is kind of interesting, I guess, to kind of simulate the new sky interior, like to make passengers more comfortable. So that's kind of nice to have. Again, it's more of an exterior feature rather than that it's useful for the actual pilot, but it's kind of nice to have. And then the aircraft also comes with a lot of documentation. I mean, the user manual is already almost 500 pages worth of information. There's also a tutorial and a quick start guide to get you going. So they definitely put a lot of effort in, giving you the opportunity to get acquainted with this aircraft quickly and to explore its functions, and definitely explore the functions that are different from the classic Boeing airplanes. Also in the installation folder you will find the dispatcher. It's kind of the same utility that you would find on the EFB to load fuel and payload. And with this manager you can also install repaints. You download just these repaints from the QualityWings website, and then using this utility you can install them. So I'd like to thank you for watching here this first impressions video of the QualityWings Boeing 787. I hope you liked it. I will explore this aircraft more, probably give a more detailed review or just make a flight with it on VATSIM soon. So overall I think this is a very nice aircraft to explore. Great exterior quality, great interior quality. The level of the systems is fine, it will definitely give you a pleasurable experience. There are some things here and there that need to be fixed in my opinion, like it would be nice to adjust the display brightness just the way it's supposed to be done. It would be nice to get the weather radar fully functional beyond 40 nautical miles, or maybe that's just my problem, but it's something that I just noticed on this first impressions video, so don't bash me for that. But what I definitely would like to see is key commands. That would be very nice. I mean, of course people will probably explore this aircraft more and find more things that need to be fixed, so time will learn again, and I'm looking forward to what future updates may bring. But all in all, I think you will definitely enjoy this aircraft once you purchase it, because simply because it's just so unique, it's an aircraft that is very new in the real world, so it's definitely very nice to have that as part of your sim collection. So I'd like to thank you for watching here this video on AviationPro. Make sure you head over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/AviationPro, if you want to support the channel. It would be very much appreciated. And for now I'd like to thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.